During the war, there were Chinese who are already in Canada, and many want to volunteer in World War I, but they were refused by the government. They said no Chinese would be allowed to join the war effort. That was shocking to the Chinese because you're putting your lives on the line and you'll be killed in the war, and that is not good enough. No, simply because you're Chinese. Now, the policy of recruitment varies from province to province. In Toronto, British Columbia were more racist policies. They were not allowed. But in the Prairie province like Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, those were farming countries, and they were far and few, almost no Chinese. So no policy was set to disallow Chinese to join, because unlike Vancouver and Toronto, there were Chinese populations, so policy were implemented. Now, in the Second World War, there were debate whether the Chinese in Chinatown and all that, whether we should really join the war effort in the Second World War. And many said, forget it, look at what happened to the Louis brothers and others in the First World War. We were forgotten, we were not appreciated, what's the point? Then another camp said, no, this is another chance for us to prove our loyalty to this country. Let's do it again. So there were two camps debating back and forth, and so in the early part of the war, some Chinese were able to join before the policy again implemented. So there was a group of Chinese where they joined the war efforts and everything, but by the time they decided that, okay, they had a vote, we're going to join. But when they went to the recruiting center, the policy came down and said, I'm sorry, no Chinese would be allowed. That's how much racism there was in those days. Now, many after the war thought that they would be welcomed back to Canada for the effort they made in the war effort. And interestingly, in France, they were welcome. The Chinese were welcome to stay, and actually some even got married and settled down in France. Coming back to Canada was a problem. We were not welcome, extremely difficult. Many were not allowed to stay, but fortunately for some reason, some had relatives here and were able to sponsor them and stay. And that was another migration of the Chinese. When the war ended, Chinese were still not recognized as Canadian, but in 1947, because the war effort, finally, in 1947, Chinese were recognized as a Canadian, Canadians, citizen like the rest. So it did not come easy. They sacrificed their lives to do it.